The air hung heavy, thick with anticipation. A lone figure stood atop the windswept cliffs, his silhouette a stark monument against the dying sun. Lord Diron. His gaze, hard as granite, swept the horizon. He was a warrior forged in the fires of countless battles, his spirit tempered to unyielding steel. At his side rested the Godslayer, a sword pulsating with ancient energy. Its blade, honed to lethal perfection, gleamed with an inner light, a beacon against the encroaching darkness. Legends whispered of its creation from a fallen star, its power capable of cleaving through celestial beings. Tonight, that legend would be tested. Diron gripped the Godslayer's hilt. The leather felt familiar, comforting. He felt the sword's power thrumming, a living entity eager to unleash its fury. A grim smile touched Diron's lips. He had walked countless battlefields, tasted victory and defeat in equal measure, but this was different. This was a battle for the very soul of mankind, and he would face it head-on, with the Godslayer singing its deadly song. For weeks, whispers had travelled on the wind, dark whispers of an approaching evil. A crimson stain bloomed in the east, a malevolent cancer upon the horizon. It pulsed with an unholy light, casting long, dancing shadows across the terrified land. The people, hardened by years of toil and hardship, looked to the heavens in fear. Their prayers went unanswered. This was a power beyond the purview of gods. This was the harbinger of the apocalypse. The Four Horsemen, war, famine, pestilence, death, ancient terrors, spoken of only in hushed tones and forgotten legends. They rode as heralds of chaos and destruction, their mere presence enough to unravel the fabric of civilization. Their approach sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest warriors, leaving icy dread in their wake. The world held its breath, waiting. Diron watched the crimson stain spread. He felt it in his bones, a deep, resonant hum that spoke of approaching doom. The whispers on the wind grew stronger, carrying with them the clang of steel and the screams of the dying. War was coming. He could almost taste the iron tang of blood in the air. His grip tightened on the Godslayer, a low growl rumbling in his chest. He was no stranger to war. He had seen its horrors firsthand, felt the sting of loss, the bitter taste of defeat. But this was different. This was not a war for land or power. This was a war for the very survival of mankind. And he, Lord Diron, stood as the only bulwark against the encroaching darkness. The first horseman appeared on the horizon, a skeletal figure draped in tattered rags, riding atop a sickly, pale horse. Famine. Its presence sucked the colour from the world, leaving behind a desolate, barren landscape. Crops withered and died, wells ran dry, and the land groaned under the weight of its despair. Mothers held their starving children close, tears streaming down their faces as hope itself began to fade. Diron watched, his face a mask of grim determination. He had faced countless foes in his lifetime, but never had he encountered an enemy so insidious, so capable of inflicting suffering on such a massive scale. He knew that to defeat famine, he would need more than just brute strength. He would need cunning, and he would need to strike at the heart of the horseman's power. Section 5. The Black Rider. The second horseman followed closely behind, a hulking figure clad in blackened armor, his face obscured by a visored helm. War. He rode a monstrous warhorse, its hooves shod in iron, its eyes burning with unholy fire. Wherever war tread, conflict followed. Armies clashed, cities burned, and the stench of death hung heavy in the air. Brother fought brother, friend fought friend, all consumed by the madness of war. Diron knew he couldn't fight war head-on. The horseman thrived on conflict, grew stronger with every life taken. He had to find a way to isolate war, to cut him off from the source of his power. He needed a plan, and he needed it fast. The fate of the world depended on it. Section 6. The Face of Famine. The air grew thin and brittle as Diron rode through a land ravaged by famine. He saw the skeletal forms of men and women, their eyes hollow with hunger. Children lay dying in the streets, their tiny bodies wasted away to nothing. The stench of death clung to everything. Diron felt a surge of anger, a burning rage towards the horsemen responsible for this suffering. He unsheathed the god-slayer, its blade humming in anticipation. He found Famine on a barren plain, a skeletal figure feasting on the souls of the dead. The ground around the horseman was littered with bones, a testament to his insatiable hunger. Diron charged, his war cry echoing across the desolation. The god-slayer blazed with celestial fire, its light cutting through the oppressive darkness. The battle was joined. Section 7, A Crimson Tide. Diron fought with the fury of a cornered animal, his every blow fueled by righteous anger. The god-slayer sang through the air, its blade a blur of motion. Famine, weakened but desperate, lashed out with claws like obsidian blades. But Diron was relentless. He pressed his attack, driving the horseman back, forcing him to rely on his ghastly magic. A wave of pure darkness erupted from Famine, a tide of despair and decay aimed at crushing Diron's spirit. But the warrior stood firm. The god-slayer held high. The blade blazed brighter, cleaving through the darkness, its light a beacon of hope in the face of oblivion. With a final earth-shattering blow, Diron cleaved through Famine's defences, the godslayer separating flesh from bone. A wail of despair tore through the air as the horsemen dissolved into motes of black dust. The land around them, though still scarred, began to heal. A single wildflower pushed its way through the cracked earth, a testament to the resilience of life. But Diron allowed himself no time for celebration. He could feel the presence of the remaining horsemen, their power growing with each passing moment. The fight was far from over. Section 8, The Final Horseman. The final confrontation took place on a battlefield littered with the corpses of countless warriors. The stench of death hung heavy in the air, a grim testament to the devastating power of the Four Horsemen. Diron stood alone, his armor battered, his body weary but his spirit unbroken. He had fought his way through the forces of war and pestilence, his resolve hardened with each victory. Now he faced the last and most terrifying of the horsemen, death. Death was not a being of flesh and blood, but a manifestation of oblivion, a shroud of darkness that consumed all things. It rode upon a skeletal steed, its hooves leaving trails of frost and decay in their wake. In its skeletal hand, it held aloft a scythe that hummed with the souls of countless dead. The sight of it sent chills down the spines of even the bravest warriors, for to look upon death was to stare into the abyss. Section 9. A New Dawn. The battle between Diron and death raged for what felt like an eternity. The very fabric of reality groaned under the strain of their conflict. The god-slayer clashed against death's scythe, sparks showering the battlefield like dying stars. Diron fought with every ounce of strength he possessed, driven by the hope that flickered in the hearts of all humanity. He knew that if he fell, all hope would perish with him. And then, as quickly as it began, it was over. With a final, desperate lunge, Diron drove the god-slayer deep into the heart of death. A blinding light erupted, consuming the battlefield and silencing the screams of the damned. When the light faded, Diron stood alone, victorious but weary. The godslayer hummed softly in his hand, its work complete. The reign of the Four Horsemen was over. Section 10. Legacy of the Slayer. Word of Diron's victory spread like wildfire across the land, igniting a beacon of hope in the hearts of the downtrodden. He became a symbol of courage and resilience, his name whispered in hushed tones by those who had witnessed his bravery firsthand. The God-Slayer, once a weapon of legend, became a symbol of mankind's indomitable spirit, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, hope could prevail. And so the world began to heal. Scars remained, a testament to the devastation wrought by the Four Horsemen, but life found a way. The land, once barren, bloomed anew. Cities rose from the ashes, stronger and more vibrant than before, and in the hearts of all who had witnessed the darkness, there burned a newfound appreciation for the preciousness of life and the enduring power of hope. The legacy of Lord Diron, the slayer of horsemen, would live on, an inspiration for generations to come.